Well, good evening, everybody. I am Chef Laura Bonicelli of the Bonicelli Cooking Club, and welcome. I hope you're having a good Wednesday. This is a Minneapolis Farmers Market live cooking demo in partnership with the Bonicelli Cooking Club. So in addition to being the chef running the cooking club, I am also the Minneapolis Farmers Market chef, and we will be live streaming cooking segments every Wednesday and Thursday all season long. Tonight, we are making fresh spring pea soup, and we're going to put together a little salad with strawberry rhubarb dressing. So tonight, we are making my fresh spring pea soup. I got that out that time. So this soup is a unique one because it starts with sauteed lettuce and it's a part of the base. And we are all used to sauteing chard and spinach and kale, but not usually lettuce. But in this recipe, it contributes massively to the fresh and bright flavor of the soup. And it's beautiful. So I tried a lot of different lettuces with this, and I was lucky enough to pick up some from Dean's Gardens last weekend, and that's what we're working with tonight. And we're going to start with our leek, and let's get the soup going. So I have one leek here, and this is what I cut off of the leek already, and I cut the end piece off as well. So this is the middle, and I cut this down the center lengthwise. And the reason I always do that, and this is important, I don't care if you're buying it from a store or you're buying it from a farmer at the market, you just need to do this. You have to cut it in half and then run it under running water to get the dirt out of these layers. And I've seen a lot of dirt in the layers in both store-bought leeks and market leeks. So make sure you do that because you don't want to be eating the dirt. But leeks are wonderful. And here, let me just grab that. Okay. So I've got a knife here, and I'm going to cut these now. I need to kind of mince these, but remember we're going to take an immersion blender at the end here, and we are going to blend this whole soup together. So you don't have to be too particular about how fine you get these, but since we're going to saute them, I want to, and you see this outside layers always are a little bit difficult, so you want to go back through. Those will fight with your immersion blender, so they're a little bit tougher, so on the outside. So you want to get through those, and let's do this one. How's that camera working out? Can you see this okay? Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. There's that tougher outer one. I'm going to just take that separately and cut it again. Just give it its own run through. Always that outer layer that's a little bit difficult. Okay, and then let's get the rest of these done. Well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this heated up here, and let's get rid of our beautiful shirt. Okay, so we'll turn on our burner, and I have a couple of tablespoons of unsalted butter. Put that in there. And then I'm going to add to that. I really want these to go pretty slowly. I don't want to brown them, so you have to be careful with your heat. And I'm going to call that a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. The olive oil has a higher smoking temperature, of course, than butter, because butter will burn fairly easily. So the mixture of the two is going to allow me to do this a little bit hotter. Get a little more heat underneath this. Okay, let's finish up with these leeks. And what I like about leeks is they have a very distinctive flavor. They also, in my opinion, have a touch of garlickiness to them. So they have a great background flavor for what we're doing here. Let's see how this is doing. I have been making this soup for years, and when I put it on the menu at the restaurant, it was, I mean, a surprise. People expected split pea soup, you know, so they would order it and it would come out and it would be this bright, beautiful green. Became quite popular. There we always served it with Asiago crisps. So that's basically just melted Asiago that starts to brown and it turns into something that's like a cheesy potato chip. And I've got this here to help me, my bench knife. I use this probably more, I use it more for scooping up vegetables than anything else. And the reason is it's very easy to, just take your knife and slide it under here, but every time you're doing that, you're dulling your knife. I don't really care if I dull my bench knife because I use it for things like this, not for slicing. Okay, let's just get these going. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on them. So the way we used to be set up, Mark used to be over here. These burners are a little crazy hot. So he would be over here, which was really comforting to me because he could actually see the flame. So now you have to watch it in the overhead camera, and if these start to brown, let me know and I'll turn it down. So while that is doing that, I'm going to go ahead and deal with my lettuce, and I need, I believe, roughly 6 cups. Is that true? True? Okay. So shredded, yes. I'm going to just give it a rough cut. Here, let me just stir this again. I've got a bowl to put that in. So these are what I get from Dean's Gardens, and they come in a clamshell, and it's like, it's amazing. It's like the clown car thing. When you open this clamshell, there's so many greens in there, and it looks like, oh, that'll last me for 1 or 2 salads. And usually we buy 1 clamshell, and we have salad all week. It's beautifully fresh. They're really delicate. If I want to crisp them up, I just throw them in ice water for 10 minutes and they crisp up beautifully if I decide to go that route. But oftentimes when I'm having a salad, I go the other way and I want the lettuce to wilt a little bit. So let's just rip these up. I'm not concerned about bruising the lettuce. Oh, I am going to roughly measure this. This is a 2-cup measure. I'm not concerned about bruising the lettuce leaves because I'm going to run an immersion blender through it, so that ship will sail soon. And in this mix that they sell, there's some red, there's some almost romaine-like. It also comes with, this looks like some arugula and watercress, so different greens are mixed in as well. It's just really great. And I think it was $5. Is that, am I right on that, Mark?
Yeah, 4 or 5, I forget.
That's 2 cups. Let's give this a little stir. Yeah, and this is for once this burner is perfect. They aren't browning, and that's what I want. I want them to kind of be sweated, so they're, and by that I mean they're getting that nice clearness to it and cooking down, but they are not browning. If they did brown, that would add a different flavor, an almost acrid flavor. And what I smell right now is it's like a light onion, like I said, practically garlicky. Let's see how much lettuce this actually winds up being, but this will cook down a lot. I just need to have enough left for my little salad. So we made an asparagus soup last week. I was joking last week about how my Instagram feed is just completely green, but that's going to end soon because we're going to start getting into some real color very soon. Okay, I'll call that good. Let's go ahead and put these in while I do my now I think I am going to turn this down. Now, usually if I'm on a normal stove, I would tell you, don't heat up your pan, overheat your pan and then have to back it off because it's really hard to do that. It's better to creep up on the heat. And knowing the right temperature and how you manage that is really important. But these burners are kind of, well, butane burns hotter than gas does, so that's part of the issue. Okay, I'm going to just keep going until I get all of this in here. And we'll just let that cook down and get our parsley. So parsley, the reason I put that in this mixture is because parsley does a very good job of just brightening things up. So I picked this right from the garden. A few stems in here I'm going to pull off. Just the woodier ones, the heavier ones I'll pull out. But the lighter ones I'll leave and just chop them up. And I'm going for a 1/4 cup. I picked a little bit over that, and I'm going to chop it down. It'll be about a 1/4 cup. Not being very exact about the measurements on this. But I do really love the parsley in this mixture because this is one of the freshest tasting soups I've ever had, and the parsley really helps with that. One of the reasons you always have to have Italian parsley in your garden or on your countertop or however you manage that in your refrigerator. Okay. How is that going? So I looked in my freezer today and realized that I was completely out of homemade chicken stock. So we did pick some up at the store, which means I will be roasting chickens this week because I really love homemade chicken stock. I love making it. I love having it simmer on the stove. Even, you know, in the summer when it's hotter, then I just try to do it early in the morning. I chill it down, put it in the fridge, and then take it out the next day, do it again, add a little water. Then on the 3rd day, I bring it up to temp, cool it down, and then quart it and freeze it. That's looking pretty good. So this is going to be, 1 to 2 minutes to get these to this state, and I think that's looking great. Then we're going to add in our 4 cups of chicken stock. Shake that up. And this is a quart, so all good. I see a lot of recipes that talk about stock, buying low sodium chicken stock, and for the most part, I never salt stock. So it's always just, plain, and then I add the salt in later. And this is an unsalted stock. So there we go. Let's do that. Okay, now I'm going to bring this up to a simmer. Let's get the rest of those herbs in there. Great. Now this goes for, let me just check my recipe, about 10 minutes. Yep. I'm just looking here, make sure I got everything in there. Yes, we're in good shape. Okay, so while that is coming up to a simmer, and I'll keep my eyes on it, let me just get rid of this. Well, I'm going to need this, so let's pull this back. Are you okay with that, if I do that a little bit? Mm-hmm. Okay, can you still see if I'm working here? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll pull it back up. As soon as this comes up to a boil, I'm going to put my peas in, but I just want to get it up there so it goes a little faster. Okay, so let's get back to my greens. Got some beautiful greens here. Now I'm going to use some of this, it looks to be watercress and arugula. We're just going to do a nice arrangement of that. I always try to, when I'm doing the greens, how's that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Just think about the color and think about the fact that there is a right and wrong side to these leaves, and so you want to make sure you get the right sides up. It'll just look better. This is if you're, of course, arranging it. If you're just tossing it in a bowl, whatever happens, happens, but in this case we can do it this way. And then I've got some berries over here. Love all of these. Look how pretty that is. It's kind of right up on the rim a little bit. Okay, let's put that there. And so I've got some strawberries here. And I have my little huller. Come up to a boil, please. So this little guy is very handy. You just kind of take them like that and it pulls the hull out like that. Very efficient. We don't need that many berries for this salad. It's just for one person.
Jean asked if all you have is romaine, can you use that in your salad, or?
Oh yeah, so you can, in the salad you're talking about, right?
Oh, but it could be the soup, I guess. Have you ever used romaine?
Have I ever used romaine? I've used red leaf lettuce. I have used romaine. Take the ribs out just because they're just a little bit on the tough side and they tend to resist the immersion blender. So I've used a lot of different kinds: green leaf lettuce, red leaf lettuce, Bibb lettuce. These are great because they're nice and delicate. So I would just say if you're going to use it, I would do that. I wouldn't use like an iceberg lettuce. I think that would just not have enough flavor going on. I'm going to go ahead and put these peas in here because it's starting on the edges to come up to a simmer. So these peas are, by the way, I'm using frozen peas. And if you are going to use market peas, which you of course certainly can, just make sure that frozen peas are blanched, so they are cooked already. So all I did with those was ran them under warm water until they weren't frozen anymore, and then I throw them in like that. But if you are using market peas, you will want to make sure that you cook them until they are tender, because this 10 minutes is not going to be enough to cook them until they're tender. So deal with that before you make the soup, and then you can use your market ingredients for it. Okay. Someday this is going to come up. But anyway, back to this. Great question. Yeah, any kind of greens that you are interested in using, I would go ahead and try them and see what you come up with. And even the red lettuce was interesting because it was really very red lettuce, like this, except for even like these, except for even more so. And the soup is still green, still had the same wonderful flavor. So there's a lot of flexibility in that. Okay, so then I've got these. Let me just grab a different knife here. And I'm going to slice them. It probably isn't going to take more than 3 or 4 of these to fill this salad out nicely. There we go, it's coming up now. So the dressing, which is over here, we should just talk through that while this is simmering. And here it is. It's a very thick dressing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful kind of pink color. Let's just talk about what that is. So it starts out with basically bringing up your rhubarb and your strawberries to a simmer, and to that you're adding a little water, a third cup of water, a couple of tablespoons of lemon juice, that's familiar, half a cup of honey. So there's your sweetness, extra sweetness. And you do have rhubarb in here, so you trust me, you're going to need it. And I'm just quietly turning this burner down on the side here so this doesn't boil over on me. But we are boiling finally, so yay. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so, and then 2 cups each, culled, just like this, strawberries and sliced, and 2 cups of sliced rhubarb. And then you simmer that all together in a pan for about 8 minutes. Then you add into it 2 shallots and half a cup of raspberry or red wine vinegar, and the zest of the lemon, zest of 1 lemon. And then you let that go for another 10 minutes, simmering it on your stove. Then you cool it down enough to put it into a food processor fitted with a metal blade, and you add in some Dijon mustard, a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and olive oil, 3/4 of a cup of olive oil. And that makes it kind of emulsify and turn into this. I have a little bit of Italian parsley on my hand. Turn into this very smooth, beautiful dressing, and it maintains its color. It has a little kick, and that's the Dijon, probably also the rhubarb. I don't know if this is going to simmer. It's just going to boil. We're just going to have to live with it. Only has to go for 10 minutes, so we're going to be in good shape. And then I just dress it like this, and this made probably, well, it was probably at least 2 cups, if not more. So we've been kind of drizzling it on salads all week. But I wanted to share it with you. I did not do a blog post on this. It's likely that there will be one up by the end of the week. So you can grab the recipe off of my website at that point. For sure by Saturday I'll have that done. And there we go. Isn't that pretty? Okay. So let's see how these guys are doing. And let me rearrange this. Yeah. That is just, look at that bright green color. Any other questions while I'm just kind of letting this simmer a little bit?
How does the soup freeze?
How does the soup freeze? Beautifully. Yeah, it freezes beautifully. You'll see when it's done. It has. I mean, you can keep going as long as you want to, but you'll never get the peas completely pureed. They always have a little bit of texture, which I really think is beautiful. So freezes great and maintains its color when you freeze it. Which is really nice. Okay, I'm going to get ready to puree this. I have an immersion blender over here. I'm just going to call that good in terms of timing. But first let me get rid of this because I am done chopping for sure. Okay. Bring this into the center and I'll turn this off. There we go. So this is my immersion blender. Can't live without one of these. I have gone through many of them because I've used, they make them in all sizes up to the size that looks like a large leaf blower or chainsaw. They make them for vats, but I've always had one that's a little too small for what I've been doing, so I have gone through a number of them. But this is great because I will be able to blend this soup without having to take it out of the pan. The only thing you have to be careful about is, of course, splashing yourself. So you have to kind of work gingerly in the beginning. It does take a little bit of time, but I think it's way beyond trying to take this and put it in a blender. And if you are going to blend it outside, I would recommend a blender, not a food processor. Food processors don't take thin liquid very well. Are you able to see that? Maybe? And as I'm going along gingerly here, it is getting thicker. Like I said, I'm being very cautious and careful. So you do have the option, oh, there we go, whoa, of serving this if you want to with some of the peas left whole, or you can just kind of keep going like I'm doing and getting them to blend in completely. So if we had gone the full 10 minutes with this, I would say that the soup would be a little thicker than this because it would have cooked down a little bit. It's kind of mesmerizing. Okay, at this point, I'm going to tip this like this and hang on to it. And I'm going to put in a little salt here. I'm going to go for about a teaspoon. And if I can get that, yep, it's staying. I'm going to put a little pepper in as well. And then I'm going to blend this and taste it. Look at that green. It's just amazing. It is every bit as green as my salad.
Yes, the soup can be served cold.
The soup is delicious cold. Absolutely delicious cold. So, or room temperature. As a matter of fact, the one thing I will say with this, and I feel this way about a lot of things, that I think that serving it too hot, even though we always we're always so concerned about food being hot, right, hot. I would say I'm less concerned about that than I am about, just giving it enough time to sit so that it cools down enough so you can actually taste it. So I think it benefits from that. So cold, yes. Room temperature, great. We often would serve it as a first course kind of thing. So, let it sit for 10 minutes and then actually plate it up, and that's a really nice thing to do. The other thing with this is that I believe I say in the recipe that you can finish it with a half a cup of cream. What that will do is add some it's going to add fat, of course. So typically I do that if I'm not garnishing with sour cream. So sometimes what I do is I'll finish it with the heavy cream, and then I'll snip chives on top of it or some other herb, dill, something like that, and serve it that way because the cream is in it. If I am doing what I'm doing today, which is I'm not putting cream in it, then I do garnish it with sour cream. And if I let this go a little bit longer, it would be a little thicker than this, and the sour cream might sink right now because I didn't let it go a little longer. But either way, that's adding the cream in. And what I love about that, and if it's cooler, by the way, that's better because then it doesn't melt as readily. But I love that cool sour cream richness. Just, taking a little bit of that in a spoonful is really delicious. So let me get my plate here. Did we make it through all those images and everything for the strawberry rhubarb dressing? That worked fine? Okay. Okay. There we go. Look at that. It looks like pesto. It's like a bowl full of pesto-like gorgeousness. Just beautiful. Let's do a little bit more. And for me, like I said, I'd like it if it were a little bit thicker. But I like a little bit of that color variation. I could keep going and that would go away a little bit. You'd still have some of it. But that's function of the parsley and probably the skins of the peas. So here's my dollop of sour cream. Oops. Let's just see if we can get that to roll off a little bit there. Let's just push that in and see what happens. Yep, beautiful. Okay, there we go. Any other questions?
You mentioned different lettuces. Can you explain?
Different lettuces. Yeah, well, we did talk a bit about that. I would say, you can use what's in your garden. You can, Jean brought up romaine. That's a great suggestion. You are sauteing it a lot. I would avoid things like spinach or any kale, anything that's going to have a really distinctive heavy flavor. This is about kind of a background fresh flavor, which is why I think the romaine, butter, lettuce, that type of thing would work really, really well. In my garden right now, I don't know what growing. I can't see it yet, and so we just bought seeds and put them all over the place. So. But everything that I have growing out there, I would use in this soup. I would just avoid anything that's got a really strong flavor. So, and that being said, I wouldn't use arugula, anything that's got a real peppery flavor that would dominate the soup, because you really want those peas to come out, and you just want it to have that fresh, bright flavor. Fresh, bright flavor. So, okay, and you know what I didn't do is I didn't taste it, but I do know for a fact that that was about the right amount of salt, so. Yep, about a teaspoon of salt brings it right up to where it needs to be, and a nice grind of pepper is always a good idea too. Okay, anything else that we've got there? Should we talk about Saturday?
Yes. Well, before that, does the soup retain its color if you make it ahead?
I hope they're hearing that. Does the soup retain its color if you make it ahead? Yes. It doesn't discolor. It doesn't have any acid in it. So it will stay this bright, beautiful green, whether you freeze it or you just make it ahead and heat it up right before you serve it. Yeah, we used to freeze it all the time. So I would make it in large quantities, freeze it, and then take it out as we needed it. So it's perfect for that. And it won't be like, oh, this isn't fresh spring pea soup. It will taste the same. It will be beautiful. So it's good for that. It's and same thing if you add the cream, no problem with that either.
Jean said it looks like it could go on ice cream. The rhubarb dressing, not the pea soup.
Oh, okay. That's the problem with making two recipes, is that you Okay, next time I see you, that's what we're having for sure. We'll put it on vanilla. So, yeah, I think that the vinegar would be a little weird with vanilla ice cream in the dressing, but yes, it does look like that. It's really pretty, and it is delicious. And I don't know about the Dijon either, but maybe, you know what? Here's an idea. I remember a few years ago working on a recipe with sweet corn ice cream. So maybe with that, we'll have to play around with that. Okay, that's a good idea. So we're going to go and eat our soup, and we will be back tomorrow night with the asparagus risotto. I thank you, everyone, Minneapolis Farmers Market, everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night. Ciao. Mwah.